How's it going, guys? Derrick here with Oilfield Basics, and I'm here with
Sebastian Jaya,
co-founders of Oilfield Basics, and we are starting episode 0 of our Oilfield Basics Discover Podcast. So welcome along for the ride. We've got a lot of stuff to kind of cover today. We're going to be going over basically, what we're about, why we're doing this, what our goals are. We're going to be talking about Oilfield Basics as a company and where the podcast is coming into play. And then hopefully what we expect this podcast to become, and hopefully how it may be able to influence our industry. And of course, how you guys can get involved and be a part of all of this as well. So starting right in, I want to introduce us to you guys. So you guys listening, this is our first experience ever podcasting. We've done some videos, and so Oilfield Basics as a company has been around for about a year now. But this is the first time that we're actually podcasting. So this is new for us, so you guys are along for the ride. But let's start off with a little bit of introductions. So Sebastian, you want to start us off?
Sure. So, I'm a petroleum engineering student. I'm going to school at Merritt College in Merritt, Ohio, which is in the heart of the Appalachian Basin. I decided to go into petroleum engineering just because I knew that the oil and gas industry was so innovative and always growing and changing. So that's what kind of steered me into the oil and gas industry. And I've had 2 summer internships thus far. I've worked as a kind of field operator for an operator, and then also as a production engineering intern for the same operator. But I'm always looking to learn more, hoping to share my experiences and what I've learned thus far with everyone else in the industry. So.
Yeah, and Sebastian is actually from Chicago, right?
That's right, from Chicago.
So it's a little bit different, right? Someone from Chicago going into the industry.
Yeah, for sure. No oil and gas there, but it still geared me, and I'm always looking to travel and end up somewhere different. So oil and gas industry is
the right
perfect
career
for me.
For that.
That's right.
Yeah, so like I said, my name is Derrick. I'm actually from the Ohio Valley area, so basically right around Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania, right in the valley. So I'm actually from Ohio. But anyway, so I've grown up on basically a farm, and we had a conventional well drilled on our property. So I've actually kind of been exposed to it for most of my life, but I never really got interested in it until it started moving into our area. And then when I was approaching the last couple years of high school, starting to try and decide what I wanted to go into. And again, I ended up choosing petroleum engineering, did some shadowing, and then actually went out to an actual rig site where they were drilling a horizontal Utica well. And I was hooked. So from first time stepping on a pad, it hooked me. There was no other career that I wanted to do. And I knew some people who were going to Marietta College for petroleum engineering as well, and got in touch with them and decided that that's the path I wanted to pursue. So I'm actually a senior, ready to graduate here in a couple months. And Sebastian is just a year below me. And so we're both students. So again, we're very hungry to continue to learn more and more about our industry. And so my background, I've had internships every summer. I did some hands-on work out in the field and weed eating and all the stuff that isn't exactly real fun to do, but it exposed me to a lot of the conventional stuff. So I got a very good basis of conventional knowledge. And then from there on, I started working for operators that had horizontal shale assets. So got familiar with that process, got familiar with a lot of the technologies and the tools and the overall processes that are used every day in our industry, and just overall, and I got to see it move into my area too. So it's personal for me as well. I've seen how my own community has been impacted by oil and gas, and of course, we've both sought out a lot of opportunities to continue to learn as much as we can. So this is basically the next fruition of that for us. So
for sure.
We were home one winter break, kind of bored, and decided that there wasn't really any good place that we could go to continue learning more about our industry. So, that's something that, we've realized that our generation learns differently. So whenever we want to learn more about a particular topic, or whenever your vehicle breaks down or something like that, you want to go to YouTube and search it. And that's how we learn. That's how we take in information. And there's no resource like that. So that's one of the missions of Oilfield Basics. Is one of the reasons that we created this company was to create this resource space.
Yeah. So at first, our goal is kind of create this resource for students and community members, people that aren't as exposed to the industry, as workers working around wellheads every day, or engineers in the office working for these operators. So that was initially our goal, but soon we realized that the people in the industry need this education and need this resource just as much as those people who aren't in the industry, such as students or community members, landowners, and thus far. So that was our goal, but we're kind of shifting towards making this resource and available to everyone. And so, yeah.
Yes, so our original product, the original thing that Oilfield Basics was going to create was actually basically the replacement of a textbook for our industry. Like there's, for our Petro 101 courses and stuff like that, any kind of introductory class to the industry, there was no good material. Yeah. There's not really that many textbooks on it, and the textbooks that exist are out of date. So that was our original goal. And then when we actually started talking to people in the industry about this, they're like, hey, there's a lot of actual applications to our industry. And what we find in our industry is that a lot of people actually specialize. So you talk to that, that pumper, they can practically speak to the well, right? But they don't know about the drilling process. They don't know how that, about the dog legs in the well and how it can affect, production and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of administrative support staff, that support our industry, that allow us to do what we do, like the accounting and all the finances and the legal, all this kind of stuff that supports our industry, and the engineers and the fun stuff of the industry per se.
Yeah.
We have all that kind of support staff that oftentimes they don't even get to know much about what we do. And so we've got this environment where we don't know what the person above us does. If you're working for a company in the office, what the floor above you don't know what those people are doing.
Yeah.
So, and that's such a disservice, because if we're knowledgeable of that, then so many things can happen. We can work together better, right? We're more knowledgeable. We can catch things. So you talk about that accountant that's running the numbers and making sure the books are all balanced and stuff. And then now suddenly she realizes what all these LOE expenses are, right? And then, maybe she'll catch something. Maybe we're paying for something that shouldn't. So, and that's just the administrative support. And then you start talking about the actual field guys and stuff, and they know what they have to do, but maybe they don't know why they have to do it. Or maybe they don't know why they need to be concerned about this from a safety perspective, or all this kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we're trying to help here with Oilfield Basics.
And if those people want to get further education or learn more about some process, well, the only opportunity now they have is to go and sit on an in-class class or in-person class, and those classes typically cost thousands of dollars. They're led by most commonly consulting groups or consulting companies, and they take up an entire work week, usually in one location, most commonly Houston, just because that's where all the oil and gas companies are. But if you're an accountant wanting to advance within your company, want to learn more about whatever process, and sometimes your company won't have enough funds to send you to Houston to sit there and learn for a whole week. So this is kind of why we've established this platform for that person to go home or during work, if they have time, to go on our website and learn more. And so,
right. Yeah. And I think this is the way that education in general is trending. Our industry just isn't quite on board with that yet, and we're trying to help provide that resource in the platform for that transition. So another reason right now that we're doing this, our industry, seems to be constantly being attacked, and especially Colorado. That's where I worked last summer, where I interned last summer. I was actually in Denver. So I got to witness all of the prep for the 112 ballot that was trying to be passed by all these activists. And as an industry, oftentimes, we don't know how to handle, those types of claims, X, Y, and Z claims that are being made against our industry, right? And that's something that, we don't even know how to educate our neighbors, and we don't know what to believe. And like I said, that's because we don't know what each other's jobs are. So, how can we defend our field if we don't know the basics of our field, and if we don't know the easiest way to communicate it? And so, again, we're trying to be that resource where there's always something new to learn. And again, hopefully, provide some unity in our industry as well. Not that it's not uniform, but giving us a stronger sense of pride for being a part of the oil and gas industry, because constantly, outsiders are trying to, they make it sound bad. If you tell somebody, when somebody asks what I'm doing, I usually just say engineering, right? And if they know enough or care enough to ask, they'll be like, oh, what type? And I'll be like, well, petroleum. And then I always watch for the reaction. We're scared sometimes to claim ownership of, to being a part of this industry. And that's partially because, we don't know how to answer the questions that they're going to throw back at us, or their concerns, or they'll be like, oh, well, you guys are the ones that are killing the earth. No, right? So we're trying to be that resource where, if you want to learn about the oil and gas industry, whether it's something that is somewhat, relatively technical, if you want to learn more about the ins and outs of directional drilling, and that's actually going to be part of our next episode, our episode 1 of this. But something that's more broad, like just give me the full picture of our industry. Show me how everything connects, while the rig's there, and it's not a fracking rig, they don't frack while that rig's on location, stuff like this to really provide that overview of our industry. So trying to create all these tools and more.
Yeah. What about that story that you were down in South Texas and you're on a drilling rig?
Oh, yes.
That one day, and the rouseabout didn't know what a pump jack was.
Yeah, so I was walking around on location with the other intern, and somebody just stops us. When interns are out on site, sometimes, people find that as come either, ask you questions or torment you, kind of kid around with you, or whatever be the case, or maybe they're completely annoyed by you being there because you're always asking questions. But anyways, there was this guy that came up to me, and he's asking what the structure was right beside the rig. And so in South Texas, on this particular pad, they actually had existing wells there, so they've been on that pad before, and they were making a revisit with the rig and drilling some more. So when you do that, a lot of times you have to actually basically take down everything on that wellhead above surface. So take it down and basically cap it off temporarily, so you have room for the rig, and so the rig doesn't cause any issues. Well, in this particular case, the well was far enough away from the new set of wells that they were drilling that they actually left the pump jack up. So you actually see the pump jack there. And this rig hand walks over to me. He's like, do you guys know what this is? He was pointing at the pump jack. I'm like, buddy, this is what you do.
Yeah.
You drill the well, and that pump jack helps produce it. So the fact that that's not being connected shows a lack, of material for him to actually go in and learn. And we're trying to not only provide that material, but also provide it in a way that's fun, that's educational. And I think as students right now, at least I can still claim that for a couple more months, as students, we know how we like to learn. And we think that, that gives us a little bit of an advantage when we're trying to create this material. We're going to create material that we would want to learn by. So it's another cool little note about Oilfield Basics. And
going off that, it's not the drilling hand's fault that he doesn't know what that is, because at his company, he's just trained and educated on his particular job, and he has to do that job well to service operator. And so it's not his fault he doesn't know, but he should know. He should be able to connect the dots that because they're drilling wells, the byproduct is eventually a pump jack will be there.
And it's interesting too how companies kind of prioritize things. Whenever you bring a new hire on, and not that we have a ton of experience on this, right? But whenever you bring somebody in, especially if they're in a field type role, a lot of times you're worried about, okay, they need this safety certification, right? So we're going to make sure they have that. We're going to make sure they don't blow themselves up out there, teach them the basic things they need to know and how to perform their job. But give them the bigger sense of where their job fits into the industry.
For sure.
So we're trying to help bridge that gap here.
Yeah, this leads to the next point is all these big tech companies and investing companies wanting to get into our industry, especially now because our industry is pretty stable, pretty healthy. But
knock on wood.
But you got all these big companies trying to get in our industry, trying to, provide all these operators something new, something more innovative. And a lot of times these companies hardly know anything about our industry, hardly know about anything about the equipment, the tools, the processes in our industry. And so this was another, example of why people need Oilfield Basics, why they need this platform, and everything like that. So, yeah, and of course, and another thing too,
those companies come in and try to help us with all of our data and stuff that now as an industry we're capturing, right? They try to help us out and interpret it because we internally sometimes don't have that training, more on the technical side and in the computer sides of things. So we kind of outsource it, and then whenever you do that, other industries don't know enough about our industry to actually make meaningful models and stuff. So I've heard a couple stories of companies basically wasting money because the consulting company stuff didn't know anything about our industry, and we're basically giving results that, saying we should control this variable when it's actually something that we can't control. So
for sure.
What we're trying to do here with Oilfield Basics is actually create a platform for discovering. And so there's always something new, and there's always going to be something new for everybody to learn. So whether you are a student like us coming into the industry, there's a lot for us to learn, and you can be learning along with us. Or whether you're thinking about coming into this industry, it's going to be a great resource for you as well. Or even if you're, you've already been in the industry for 20 years, there's, and again, you've kind of specialized, like you pretty much have to, right? So you're going to get to learn about the other parts and aspects of the industry. And basically, everybody has their own little tiny piece of the industry. Little tiny piece. And I was told basically from day one, you're never going to know it all. You can never learn it all about the oil and gas industry. And that's incredibly true. And so what we're trying to do is let everybody share, or at least enable everybody who can, share their little piece of the industry. And if we can create a community and a platform where people can share their little pieces of the industry, and we have an easy way for people to capture that and hear it and discover it for themselves. That's a very powerful platform.
Yeah, for sure.
And so basically we're enabling you guys, our audience. So, we can discuss, the things we know, and then we'll hit a limit.
Yeah.
We definitely need you guys on board with this, and we need, you guys contributing as well. So we all have a little piece, and we're all trying to share it. So that's the platform we're trying to make. And this is something that, in order to capture this material, the companies have, especially like companies that manufacture products or provide services and stuff. So we're looking more on the service side, especially for those types of companies to actually work with us. And, to maybe create a course. If you have a material that's comprehensive enough, we can create a course with you. Basics of, frac, what a frac hand should know if he's being hired on, right? Yeah. Here's the blender, here's the missile, the hydration unit, all these kind of stuff. And providing all this together for them to take and learn. So they get their fuller picture, right? Full picture of where they fit into everything. So we're able to work with companies, and, like we worked with Flowco. And so Flowco has been a great supporter of us so far. And now as we grow, I think they're going to help us out with even some more material and stuff. But, Flowco is a great example. They've got, plungers, lots of different types of plungers. And so, they did a course with us and walked us through their design, and they walked us through the different types of plunger, and then basic, plunger lift curves, and and they did the same thing with gas lift, and where you would actually install your gas lift valves, and operational techniques and all this kind of stuff. So, and then hopefully even some webinars. So if you're a company that everybody has presentations, right? So if you're a geologist sitting at work working for an operator, I'm pretty sure you've got a basic level presentation about the basin that you work in.
Yeah.
So something like that, something that you would give, a presentation to even the community, like you have a town hall or something like that, or some type of public forum, or, some kind of meeting. We're trying to also take presentations that people have in existence and provide them an opportunity to give it on our platform.
Yes, that kind of leads into the main components of Oilfield Basics. And so, foremost, what we're doing now is a podcast. And so that's going to be a main component that we're going to talk about later in this podcast. But also another aspect is webinars. And so if you're someone that has, more material than we could fit on a podcast, and maybe we could film a webinar and you could share, visually your information as well as via audio. And so that could be a great option. And that's something that we're exploring. And also lastly, like Derrick mentioned before, is developing courses like Flowco had before. They've got intro to gas lift and an intro to plunger lift course right now that we have people signing up for. And so this is great for students that are taking production class, or operators that just got hired on and wanting to know what this thing sticking on top of the wellhead is. Well, it's a lubricator. So those are kind of the main components of Oilfield Basics right now: the podcast, webinars, and courses.
Yeah, and the courses, the Flowco course that we have now, the plunger lift and gas lift course, that's something that when I was a field intern down in South Texas that we talked about earlier, basically my project ended up being gas lift optimization. And I hadn't had that in class yet. I could tell you a lot of things about how the system worked and injection, and I could read, the injection, amounts and volumes, and then, correspond to well production, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't know how it was designed. I hadn't had that class yet. And so basically I was left having to call up the company that did the designs and provided the gas lift valves and everything for this well, and try to get them to teach me. And so now, if I was to rewind in time and Oilfield Basics was in existence, I would have that kind of course that I can go and check out. And right now, that particular course, since we're on that, that particular course is actually for free. So if that stuff interests you, the Flowco courses right now are for free. So check that out. Oilfieldbasics.com. That's where all of this is going to be. But another thing I just want to mention before we move on to discussing more about the specific things about the podcast and our goal for the podcast is that, this platform that we're trying to create, we're trying to learn more about the products in the industry. So, how that gas lift valve works, right, in that system. And, tools. So, what that TIW valve does, why we use it, why it's important, right? Solutions. So, that could even be like case studies and stuff. So, like with Flowco, I think one of the things that we might end up doing with them is kind of discussing some of their case studies. And what's interesting in terms of this isn't meant to be about artificial lift. This podcast episode isn't about artificial lift, but what's interesting about the plunger lift, I don't know, I don't say market right now, but basically, plunger lift right now, there's all kinds of new designs and stuff that's coming out in terms of the actual plungers themselves that you can even use in real high rate gas wells and stuff. So it seems like almost you could put a plunger in almost any well and optimize it, except unless you have like rod lift or something. It wouldn't run up and down the well that way. But anyways, and processes and solutions and that kind of thing. That's what we're trying to host on Oilfield Basics. And it doesn't have to all be sales pitchy. We got to realize that while we're partnering with companies and stuff, if you educate your future, that engineer, right, that's in school, or that entry level engineer who's still trying to learn, or even that field guy, if you educate them and help them understand the bigger picture, how it fits in, how what they're working on works, They know how to maintenance a piece of equipment, but why does that piece of equipment exist, right? If you help educate people like that, you don't have to pitch them. They're going to come back to you whenever they have that need, and you can help them. You can help educate them on why they would need your equipment. And so we see companies that have large lists of basically product catalogs, for our industry, drilling, completions, like everything. They have everything. Yeah. And they'll have a little image, and they'll be like, okay, well, this is a separator, or a shell shaker or something like that. And here's their basic dimensions and a cool picture. But I mean, the shell shaker is pretty obvious when you would need it. A lot of people would know that, especially on the drilling side. But for more specific equipment, how would you know if you need that piece of equipment? There's no educational content on that. So that's one thing we're hoping to partner with companies and kind of get that type of content. And you guys, the companies that we partner with too, they'd be free to use, the content as well, and help educate our industry. So we're just trying to become the go-to educational platform for our industry, and to make learning about the oil field simple. That's Oilfield Basics. So we've been on this long rant. So sorry about that. I talk a lot. But anyways, so now let's kind of bridge over into where this podcast comes into play. So we've given you the big picture of Oilfield Basics, and so hopefully it's probably a lot to take in. We have a lot of stuff that goes through our minds, and there's a lot of stuff even that we think we can eventually get into that we haven't discussed. So we're always coming up with new ideas and everything. So it's a big web. But essentially, here's where this podcast comes into play. So the podcast enables us to quickly and easily gather content for us and you guys to continue learning. So, like I said, we were doing video blogs before, and that's another part of the Oilfield Basics that we didn't mention, is video blogs. So there's actual blogs on our site, and we're actually, getting some people who are sending us video, going through site. Somebody sent one the other day that basically going through a little production site, here's the separator, here's the dump valves, here's the back pressure regulator, went through the site. So we're having videos like that as well, and those are free. So that's another component. But anyways, back to the podcast. The podcast enables us to quickly and easily gather content. So with the video blogs and stuff like that, it takes a little bit more effort, especially if you're trying to partner with companies or do interviews or something like that. It's going to really limit us. So what we decided to do was switch to this kind of a format where we can actually have basically phone conversations with people. So we can call our episode 1 is actually going to be MWD tools. So we're going to be talking to David Gibson of Gibson Reports. And we're going to be doing that virtually, so over the phone per se, basically. It's a little bit more techy than that, but basically over the phone. So that allows us to have pretty easy, quick, and simple interviews with technology that everybody has. So it allows us to create this resource to be more vast and expansive, quicker. That's basically why we're getting into podcasting. We weren't like, I just want to start a podcast. That hasn't been my dream or anything like that, and it wasn't Sebastian's, right? You didn't secretly want to do a podcast. So we're doing this podcast because it is in line with where we're going and allows us to get this content quick. So, and to really grow out to be as big as we can over the next couple months and in coming years. So that's the goal of the podcast. And again, there's something for everyone, regardless of your position, regardless of in or out of the industry, how long you've been in the industry, whatever. There's always going to be something for you to learn and share. So, we all have that little piece I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. And so this, the podcast basically provides you, podcasts are great. It gives you, allows you to listen to at work. Just press play, listen to it in the background while you're, typing away in your Excel sheets, whatever you're doing. Whether, for students as well, studying homework or doing whatever. For the operators, driving well to well, or, coming back from work, going back home, you can listen to us. So, podcasts are great in that way where, it doesn't require much commitment from you other than just listening to us. And so it also gives us a more open line of communication between us and you guys. What are you guys wanting to learn more about, or what questions do you have about this past podcast we did on MWD tools? And this will allow us to answer your questions pretty promptly, and it'll be a good relationship that we'll establish with you all. And our plan is to do 2 podcasts per week, and so we'll be releasing them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so before you go to work those days, maybe if you're out on location where you don't have service, maybe download them before so that you don't have to worry about that later. But it's kind of, yeah,
lots of places that don't have service in our industry.
Most of our industry, yep.
Yeah, so 2 a week, and I'll actually be the primary host on this. And when Sebastian can't join, he's pretty busy as a student athlete, and there's a lot going on there. And there's some, I have a little bit easier as a senior, right? I have a little bit more free time, a little bit more flexible. So whenever Sebastian can't join us, we're actually going to have a guest co-host here with me. So hopefully there'll always be kind of 2 hosts helping with questions and posing questions and helping with the discussion to whoever we're interviewing. So like I said, Sebastian will be on some of them, and also we'll have guests for hopefully the rest of them. But we'll take that. We'll see how that goes. We're new to this, so this will all be and we'll see how these
learning experience for all of us.
Yeah, and we'll see how this takes hold in our industry, and if we get a lot of demand, a lot of people liking it, maybe we can do 3 a week. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
2 weeks a decent bit to keep up with, but I'll tell you, for the other 3 days of the week, go check out the OGGN podcast. Right, go check out. Those guys over there, Mark LaCour and Jake and Colin and the other the legal Sarah. Sarah's doing the legal podcast. There's all kinds of podcasts out there that is under OGGN's umbrella. So check that out. There's a lot of good podcasts there, and they've actually been pretty helpful to us as well. We've talked to probably half that staff, probably half those hosts and everything, and they've been a blessing to us for sure, in helping us to get started and encouraging us to actually start this and go down this path. So big thanks to them. So the rest of the week, listen to those guys if you haven't already. So the oil and gas this week is a good one. Then stay up to date on the news
as well.
Yeah, so we won't so much cover the news of the industry per se, but we have our own focus. But that's something that's definitely good to keep up on. And then Sebastian just mentioned the startup podcast that Jake and Colin started. That's definitely a great resource as well to hear about other young companies starting on their journey. And actually, we might even be on there someday too. That's been in the discussion. So, anyways, so back to this particular podcast. Our plan is to be on all the major podcasting services, and I'm guessing if you're listening to this, you found one already. So there's not too much of a reason to say this, but we're gonna, this is completely new to us, so we'll, try to get it out there on all the major ones, and obviously iTunes or Apple, Android, whatever you guys use. I don't know. Sebastian and I both use iPhone, so it's kind of a foreign world. Spotify I know has them, and Stitcher I know are some big ones. So definitely be on those, and we'll also take clips of the course or clips of the podcast, kind of like highlight clips, and then we'll be putting that on our YouTube channel as well. So. And probably even LinkedIn and stuff like that. Yeah.
By the way, go check out our LinkedIn, our YouTube pages, and our Instagram if you have one. We're posting stuff on there every day, so stay up to date with our stuff on those platforms. For
sure, and that's another good way for you guys to get involved as well. If you're not so much the type that want to be on a podcast or present a presentation with us, through a webinar or do a course, or something like that. The easiest thing you can do, the smallest thing, small but with a big impact per se, is to actually send us pictures and videos and stuff like that. And that's actually what our Instagram and Facebook account primarily is. And sometimes we even share those on LinkedIn. So if you're out in the field, here's a zipper manifold, if you can, don't get in trouble. If you can, take a picture of it, and send it in with a little description. Here's what it is. Here's how it works. Maybe here's what this valve does, or something, and send it to us. Or we've got really cool videos from some small companies, the service work side, and the people were just actually pulling tubing and disconnecting, the joints and pulling rods and stuff, and that's a great resource for somebody who's never been out in the field or hasn't seen that, especially for students and
for sure
administrative staff and stuff, even in our own industry, to actually see that and see what it's like. And even if that does get in the public eye, it's not all, it's not oil spills everywhere. I mean, you gotta
There's nothing to hide,
Yeah, exactly. So our day-to-day operations are pretty phenomenal, and we're doing amazing things out there every single day, and we're trying to capture some of that. And you can help, if you have permission, help us capture that and share that with the world. So send us in some videos and check that out as well. But anyways, so next thing I want to talk about is our qualifications. So if this hasn't already been incredibly evident to you, we don't really have the qualifications to create a podcast.
Yeah, we haven't been the CEOs of Exxon for the past 20 years, or
right.
We're not experts in making podcasts or recording videos. We're just two students who want to help you guys learn and help, want us to learn on the way there. So
yeah, absolutely. So we're not a communications major.
No.
We just stutter right every now and then, especially me. Say I take a sip of water every now and then. So this is by no means a professional operation.
We're only human.
Yeah, I assume we'll get better as we go, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, we're just trying to create this resource for you guys. And the really cool thing about this, we've with our experience, we've had a hands-on part of our couple years, with our internships and stuff. We've had a hands-on part, and we've had more of a corporate side of things as well. So we've kind of we've seen how things are executed in the field, the common day-to-day operations of the field, with the focus on shale play, of course. But and then we got to go and see it from the corporate light and see how everything ties together and why things are done certain ways. And so we've got a decent background to start this and basically just support us in learning with you guys. So, when we're having these conversations and these interviews and stuff, especially on the podcast, we should hopefully have the basic knowledge to know what our interviewee, person we're interviewing, is talking about, so we can help break it down a little bit lower, to say, okay, well, this is where it falls in our industry, right? And when we talk about MWD in our first episode, here's where MWD is used. Here's why we use it, and it kind of help provide that background, but at the same time, be able to soak in, some of the deeper stuff that they're talking about as well. And we're hoping that you guys are about the same, level. And if you're not, then our Oilfield Basics, like our 101 starter course, basically, that Sebastian and I designed, will be very helpful for you. And we're not necessarily trying to, pitch this in every episode, but this is definitely a resource for you guys. So if you're not familiar with the very basics of our industry and the basic operations, if you don't completely understand why we fracture wells, why we hydraulically fracture shale reservoirs, or if you don't quite know how we turn that well and go horizontally, for miles into formation, or how we produce a well, you don't have that baseline knowledge, then please check out that course.
Yeah, and that's a great starting point for everyone.
That's why we built that. We built that for like this. We talked about earlier, the student coming into the industry, right? Which that is what we created for him to have, or her, as a resource to learn about the basics of our industry. So, and to tie everything together. So that's you can find that at oilfieldbasics.com/start. You can also sign up for our 101 webinars that we're going to be doing. So that'll be on that page as well. And we're going to be doing one a week or something like that. We'll see, by demand. But, basically, to help provide you guys with the quick overview of the industry, how everything ties together upstream wise. And so upstream, basically drilling and producing that well, even in through a little bit of midstream and downstream. So the refinement and transportation and everything. So, that's a resource for you guys as well. And then also, the most important thing about our qualifications that we lack, this allows us to learn right along with you guys. So, keep that in mind. And then, as we kind of look forward into what can come out of this podcast potentially, and what Oilfield Basics as a whole is doing in our industry, that's where we get really excited. So, we're already excited just about this stuff, but you start talking about maybe some of the implications, and if this becomes a big resource for you guys and for our industry, maybe this is something that can help push our industry towards actually thinking a little bit differently in terms of the way we train people, to what's most effective for this younger workforce, i.e. us, in the way that we learn and digest information. And also, maybe this is something that helps our industry to actually embrace photos and videos. And because I know, whenever we go out on site, even just on the sites we've been to, basically, you don't take pictures or videos, and if you do, you're lucky that they'll let you. Let alone, you post it out and everything. But so that's kind of our industry mentality right now. And if you think about that, we're actually doing ourselves a huge disservice. And maybe I don't understand the full extent as to why we don't allow people to take photos and videos. But I know it comes back to what's in that photo or video. Somebody would have to monitor that before they put it out. Somebody's got to check it. Does everybody have their hard hat on their FRs? Is there sleeves rolled up on their FRs? Little things like that. And then of course is there like a oil spill or something? Heaven forbid. Something that's incredibly obvious in the photo that we are so worried that somebody outside of our industry is going to take that photo or video or something like that and use it against us. But they don't need that. They don't need our help in coming up with, I won't say lies, but, things against our industry, to influence, shutting our industry down or coming about whatever they're trying to do. Right? They don't need our help in doing that. They're pretty successful themselves. But by not allowing, people to take photos and stuff like that and videos and stuff, I think we're actually doing a pretty big disservice to our industry. For sure. We don't have the materials to train, education-wise. I mean, think about, if you're bringing on this new MWD hand or something like that. If you have a video to talk, through, the assembling of the tools or, how these different components and stuff work, or actually running it on site or lowering it down to the well or, whatever be the case. I mean, all this kind of stuff, we don't have that. Some companies do, but you have to go through, and ask permission, all this kind of stuff. But anyways, that's maybe years down the road or something. Maybe we can become an influence in that realm, and maybe change that up a little bit.
This can be a great podcast topic as well.
Yeah, maybe. So if you're fired up by that topic,
let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Maybe we'll interview. You can get some more light on this side of the industry. So, and of course, this may be something, as we build up a library of courses, maybe that's something that we can turn into like a continuing education credit or something like that. So, in our minds, we see a difference in courses in terms of educating versus training. In terms of education, like basically this is what we've been talking about this entire episode. You're just giving you awareness and letting you know this is why we do what we do and this is how it works.
Yeah.
And training I see more as specific execution points. If you're going to run this tool in a well, you have to do this first, and then you monitor it by this. You look for this, that. That's more training, I think. But maybe that's something that maybe we get into at some point. But I think right now we're focusing more on education. Maybe you don't see a difference. I don't know, but we do. So but maybe that's something that we can actually bring in and provide. The material, the courses that we're doing, actually making them a continuing education credit. That's something that's been discussed and something we'll continue to evaluate and look more into. And if that's something that we can easily add on to give you guys more value out of our material, then we'll definitely consider it. And if you know about that, if you know about continuing education credit and stuff, get in touch with us. Maybe you can, shed some light on it for us as well. So
yeah, that'd be great.
And so finally, kind of winding this all down, thank you guys for being so attentive and listening, hopefully this far. Hopefully you haven't turned us off yet, because we've got a lot of stuff coming in future episodes and stuff, and we want you guys to be on board. But let's talk about for a few minutes how people can get involved and how people can help. So, right off the bat, one of the biggest things that you can do for us is spread the word about us. So if you've got, a friend or many friends, tell them about us, especially if there's somebody who you think would benefit from our material and material that we'll be putting forward, in coming weeks and months and whatnot. Tell them about it. And, if you've got connections to schools or, if you're in with training sides of your company, HR kind of stuff, you maybe talk about how you maybe let your company know about us, and maybe, that's something that we can actually do a license or something with your school or with your company and help, your students or your staff to be able to access the materials and stuff that we're creating. So, please tell a friend. A lot of the stuff that we're going to be producing, the podcasts are free, the video blogs are free. The webinars will likely be free to attend, probably all of them, maybe later down the road or something. If it's something incredibly technical, like if we're taking a week-long course or something, and that people would go and take in Houston. If we're taking that online, maybe that would be a charge. But for the most part, those stuff are all free. And then some of our courses, some of those are free and some won't be. We've got to capture, we've got to stay alive somehow. So, think about that, and think about, ways that you can actually spread the word about us. That's a huge help. And, share our stuff on social media, but definitely follow us on social media. So what all we got now?
We've got LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as major platforms we're on.
Yeah. So and those have been growing pretty steadily. We've been very happy with, how we've grown the last couple of months, really, since we've been producing like our video blogs and stuff like that. And that's pretty much what we've used to fuel our growth and more and more people learning about us up until this point.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll still do video blogs, but this is our going to be our focus in the near term. So help share our material and follow us on those social media platforms. And of course, if you've got material, and like I said, everybody has their own little piece of the industry. If you've got something, if you've got that presentation, on basics of your basin or your type of career or something like that, share it with us. Mm-hmm. And or how your tools work, your company's tools work, or what a a choke manifold does, or just reasoning and logic and tools and products. If you've got stuff on that, guys, please reach out to us. Please reach out to us. And we can't get very far if we don't have you guys working with us. So it's very critical for the survival of Oilfield Basics. And if you like what we're doing and are benefiting from what we're doing, please think about how you can get involved and help someone else discover something new.
Yeah, because Oilfield Basics is our passion, and we want to keep going with Oilfield Basics. And if you're at a company, you think that they'd be willing to sponsor us or help out with a few videos or podcasts and sponsor a few podcasts, and let us know, because this is our passion. We love what we do, so we love helping educate you guys. So let us know on that. And also, last thing on how you could help is just giving us feedback. This podcast is probably pretty rough for you guys, but I mean, we're going to be getting better every time. So just give us feedback, whether it's positive or negative. We appreciate it all. Feedback on what you guys want to hear, what you want to learn more about. Also what you don't want to hear or anything like that. So just let us know, be open with us, and we'll be open with you. So
yeah, for sure. And basically, to close this thing off, we're actually going to have a call-in line. So we've actually got this cool Google Voice kind of set up where you can actually call a number and leave a voicemail. We're not going to answer, but leave a voicemail. And share. On every episode we'll have something different. That you can call in and leave a comment on or something like that. But in this particular episode 0 of Oilfield Basics Discover Podcast, what we want you to do on this podcast is to actually, you can call this number, and it's 740-538-0379. And if you call that number, let us know, give us some feedback on this episode. Let us know what you think of our plans and our ideas and where we're heading. If you have any topic suggestions or something like that, let us know. Topics that you'd like to hear about, or maybe that you'd be able to contribute, or a little tidbit, whatever. Like if you've got something to give us feedback on, please call in at 740-538-0379. And we're actually going to be recording a couple episodes before this episode 0 launches, so it won't be immediate. But down the road, we're actually going to be able to take those clips, those voicemail clips that you guys leave us, and we can actually play that over the air per se. We can actually play that and then discuss our response to it, or whatever be the case. And then in future things, we might even have you can call in and ask a question for someone we're going to interview or something like that. So there's a lot of really cool things that we can do with the call-in number in the future. But on this particular episode, we want your feedback. So if you want to leave our feedback, leave feedback with us, and we'll definitely we'll hear it, we'll get it, and respond to it. And at 740-538-0379. And if you're wondering, that's Marietta zip code. It's Marietta, Ohio. So we were trying to figure out what zip code we could do, because we could Google would let us choose, and we could do Houston, we could do Denver, we could do we could do all these different things. And we'll keep it 740, because then I'll screw it up if it's not. So that's what I've grown up. That's my home area code, basically. So I'm we'll keep it simple. But anyway, so that's 740-538-0379. And that pretty much wraps up our first episode and episode 0. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Any last comments, Sebastian?
No. Thanks for sticking to the end. Appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate it, and we hope you guys are just as excited about this as we are. And we really look forward to creating this platform with you guys and really helping our industry have a resource to go to. So we really look forward to things to come in the future, and we appreciate your feedback and look forward to the next couple episodes.
That's right.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.